It is called Sylvester Turner Park.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
What an amazing honor that the community gave to him. You know, I feel like sometimes, you know, we give people their flowers when they're not here to smell them. And I'm so grateful that in my dad's case, and so many instances, not even just the park, but people really did give him his flowers while he was here. And I feel like the park was one instance because, you know, when the park came about, he was in the Texas State House of Representatives and he was able to negotiate and do some things. This is a city park, but he was able to fundraise and to even get some money appropriated from the state for that park. And it was not his idea for the park to be named after him, but the community said, no, it should be named after you. You did this for us.
The community's idea.
It was the community's idea for the park to be named after him.
So this big day that's coming up,
Yeah.
Hosted by Ashley Turner Captain and friends.
Yeah.
Will this year be any different, or are you making any changes?
No, I haven't made any changes, not too many. But to be honest, we were starting to plan. The first planning meeting was scheduled the day of my dad's passing.
Oh.
And so we had to kind of rework some things. The event planner kept planning. She kept doing her part. And the first thing that they asked me was, do you want to postpone? They were like, you know, I don't think anybody would blame you if you want to hold off, maybe do it next year or, you know, do it maybe later at a later date. And I was like, absolutely not. My dad would not want me to reschedule. My dad would say, Ashley, one of the last things he said to me was, Ashley, we move forward. We move forward. And that's what literally kept replaying in my head was, Ashley, move forward. And to be honest, selfishly, it's therapeutic, right? Because yeah, he was my dad, and I'm the only one that ever gets to say that Sylvester Turner was my dad. But I shared him. I shared him with the community. I shared him with the city and state, and then lastly, the nation. And so I feel like it's a way for us to all come together to celebrate his labor and his legacy, and to just enjoy this event that he worked so hard and so tirelessly to keep going for so long.
It's one thing to be part of a legacy.
Yeah.
It's another to be handed the baton to carry the legacy.
Yeah, that's heavy.
So
right?
what does that look like for you?
It's definitely keeping up the Sylvester Turner Family Day in the Park event. It's definitely keeping up the Juneteenth parade, which will be the next thing up, which is also in Acres Homes. But I think I'm also still figuring out what that means and what that looks like. My dad and I had conversations, a lot of them, over the past year since he left the mayor's office. And it's funny you said like passing the baton, because in my mind, I thought we were going to link arms to do some of this stuff. But obviously God saw different, and it literally has become a baton. And I'm very honored to do it, but it is like, let me, because, you know, with my dad gone, I feel a little off center, to be very honest. And so I'm like, let me just figure out what some of this stuff means. But there's two things I know for sure. The Family Day in the Park and the Juneteenth parade will continue.
I'm the father of an only child, a daughter, like
Girl
your dad
dad.
was. I have to ask, was your dad strict or a pushover?
He was a pushover. You heard the stories about the credit card. I mean, but you know, he was firm when he needed to be. But I feel like my dad always just got me. You know, like he would express his disappointment if he was disappointed, but he never held on to anything too long. It was never long, you know, it was never this like, I'm so mad at you, or I yelled at you. He was never a yeller. He was a pushover. In the best way possible.
Not holding on to things is a healthy way to be.
Yeah.
As a parent.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot, because I feel like in general, he didn't hold grudges. You know, I would see him from when he was in the Texas Ledge to City Hall, engaged in some hard discussions, some very challenging times. And then he would go on to the next moment, and you would see him line dancing. Like, he would literally have a hard conversation in the car and then hop out the car and be in that moment and so present. Like it never happened. And to me, I'm like, gosh, What a way to be. Like, I wish I was a little bit more like that, right? Where I could just kind of go into the next moment like, okay, that was that, and it'll take care of itself, and, go on about my day. I'm learning.
We were walking in here, and you said you realized you're more like your dad than you thought. In what way?
Yeah. Definitely my logic, the way I think. Definitely the way that I find myself handling hard conversations. And also, I like being busy. I didn't realize that about myself. I like the busy. I don't think I like the busy as much as he liked the busy. But I do like being with community. It has been healing just to be with people. I do find myself wanting to find the solution. I have realized that about myself. I'm not okay with just hearing about a problem, right? I realize I'm not the person that you go to just vent, right? In my mind, I'm thinking of ways that we can solve it.
What do we do about it?
What do we do about it? And that's something that I feel like is definitely like him. He was very solution oriented.
You posted that you, to this day, your dad is gone, you still laugh at his jokes.
I do.
So, can you share one?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there were so many. Gosh, even actually, one of our last conversations, my dog got into the trash and got a hold of a chicken bone, and so he's talking to me, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Daddy." Coco is choking on a chicken bone. We're trying to figure. And he was like, "Well, what do you do about that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, we're trying to figure it out. Like, what are you talking about?" Or like just the way that he says things, or. I remember I said something about, we were at an event and they were honoring him. And he looked at me, he's like, "They talk about me?" And I was like, they're talking about you. He said, "Well, let me go get my award then." Just the way that he was so witty and so charming. And I feel like he gave everybody a good laugh. Like, he just liked to laugh. You sat with him at so many events. Mm-hmm. Actually, I hated sitting by him when I was supposed to be serious.
Why?
Because he always made some kind of joke. Like, "Daddy, this is not the time. It is not the time to cut up on the front row, and we're supposed to be serious." But he just made everything so much fun.
I remember talking to him a few weeks before he left the mayor's office. Mm-hmm. We're walking out of City Hall. I said, "Mayor, this could be one of the last times you walk out."
Yeah.
It's a serious moment.
Yeah.
He goes, "Len, and we're going to walk slow." I said, and he started that laugh.
That infectious laugh.
Why? He loved being mayor. He said, "Len, if I could, I would sign my name as a write-in candidate and run a third time."
Yeah.
Why did he love it so much?
I mean, that was his dream. He told the story so many times about how he would take the bus, the fofo, into downtown, and he would look at those big buildings, and he would say, "One day I want to work in one of those big buildings," right? But I think also his heart truly was, if I can do something to make people's lives better, I want to do that, whatever that looks like. I think he truly embraced all of our communities. I think he really loved the diversity of the city, and he enjoyed getting to know people, right? One of the best things, and one of my favorite things about my dad was he had this ability to make everybody feel seen, right? That's what I'm hearing so much, even in his passing, when people are coming up and talking to me, they're like, "He may not have known my name, but he made me feel like he knew me."
So it sounds like, he had been a public servant for a long time.
Oh, forever.
So state legislature for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Ultimately Congress, but it sounds like mayor was where he felt most hands-on.
It was the day-to-day. It was the day-to-day, right? Because in Texas Ledge, you're there every other year, from January to May. Congress, you're representing your district in D.C., but mayor, you're in Houston doing the work, hearing from people. A lot of folks don't like the public sessions every week. Mm-hmm. He liked it. He enjoyed hearing from folks. Yeah, it was challenging and it was tough, and people were critical, but he really felt like his calling was to be in the trenches with the community. He enjoyed getting so many event invitations and going to everybody's neighborhoods. He enjoyed that they were willing to open up their homes and their synagogues and their churches and their communities to him, right? Like, that's what he thrived in that, which is why he went to 14 to 18 events every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah, he told me once, "Len, as mayor, we go 24/7.
24/7.
And you could tell.
And he meant that. When he became mayor, for the 8 years that he was mayor, he worked Sunday to Sunday. The only time that he was off was when we would do our family vacation once a year. That was the only time. He would go to church on Sundays. Now I will say he went to his church almost every Sunday, but then he would go to like 4 other churches, and then he would end with like a gala or some kind of dinner or something in the evening. And he did that every week.
You expressed gratitude that your dad got to spend time with your son.
Yeah.
Albeit not long, but
Yeah.
he did. And the pictures are amazing.
Yeah. I'm so, this is why I wore concealer. I've been very clear when I talk about my dad. He gave me a full life as his daughter. No regrets, right? In my grief, the hardest part has been how I wish that he was here longer to have that experience with Jameson, with my son. But I've also come to terms with that even though their time was short, someone who also lost their father and had a son around the same age as mine, so went through the same thing. And I made a comment like, I just wish that, he was there to have a little bit more time. And he said to me, but what a blessing that you have evidence that they shared the same time and space at the same time, right? That they were here at the same time. And I do feel like some people don't ever meet their grandfathers or have a relationship. And even though it was short, what a blessing that he was able to see his grandson, that he was able to touch and play and pray over his grandson. My son's middle name is Turner. And so, just to have him a part of that, and to see his legacy, the full breadth of his legacy, the fruition of that, right? Because now he knows that no matter what, his bloodline lives on, right? Jameson, and I was telling you off camera, he's already, to me, reminding me so much of my dad. Like, he cracks up at his own jokes. We're like, what are you laughing at? And he's just tickled about his own stuff. He's very charming for a baby. And I'm not saying that because he's my baby. Like, a lot of people are like, he's such a charming baby. And my dad was very charming. I know my dad used to say all the time, like, oh, Jameson's helping me write my speeches. And I'm like, Jameson can barely hold his head up. Like, what are you talking about? I really feel like, especially as the older Jameson gets, I do feel like we're going to see a lot more of my dad's personality in him.
Speaking of your son getting older, he'll be a teenager one day.
Yeah.
And he will get a full grasp and understanding of who his grandfather was.
Yeah.
Just by reading. But what will you tell him when he's older?
Oh my gosh. He was my dad's best friend. How much my dad was looking forward to being a grandfather. Gosh, Len. I'll tell him how much he was loved